The NBA offseason always carries that strange silence, a pause where it feels like nothing is happening, yet the entire landscape can shift overnight with a single rumor. September is approaching fast, training camp is about to crack open, and suddenly what looked like a quiet period can erupt into chaos. While most fans are staring at the calendar, the whispers behind closed doors are getting louder, and one name has forced its way into the spotlight with a force that cannot be ignored. Tyrese Maxey. Reports claim that the 23-year-old guard, long considered the future cornerstone of Philadelphia basketball, could be walking away from the city of brotherly love and heading directly into the arms of Boston. The thought alone has rattled fan bases across the East. This is not your standard free agency chatter. The figures alone tell you that. Boston has supposedly prepared an offer package that rivals any long-term commitment in recent memory, a combination of financial security and championship positioning that would be almost impossible to turn down. We are not talking about a mid-level exception or a modest extension. This would be a contract stretching well into 9 figures, an investment designed to lock Maxey into green for the rest of his prime. For Philadelphia, that possibility is devastating. For Boston, it could mean the piece that pushes them from perennial contender to unstoppable dynasty. What makes this rumor so explosive is not only the money, but the timing. Philadelphia has spent years selling the idea that Maxey would be the torchbearer for their future. To imagine him stepping onto the parquet floor at TD Garden wearing Celtics green is to imagine a direct transfer of power from one rival to another. And make no mistake, whispers suggest this is not an accidental development. Analysts hint that the Celtics front office has been quietly preparing this scenario for months, arranging private conversations, carefully laying out the vision of a roster that already includes stars and now only needs the burst of youth, speed, and scoring that Maxey provides. Boston's pitch reportedly went beyond the numbers. Sources describe detailed plans about how Maxey would be integrated immediately, how he would not simply play a supporting role, but stand as a central figure in an offense designed for pace and space. The offer included assurances about leadership opportunities, the chance to work under a coaching staff known for developing talent, and the promise of deep playoff runs in front of the most passionate fan base in the league. These are not empty words, they are strategic tools meant to appeal not just to a player's bank account, but to his legacy. Philadelphia, meanwhile, is left staring at an unthinkable scenario. If Maxey exits, the Sixers would not only lose their brightest young star, but also hand a direct competitor an enormous advantage. Their front office would be forced into emergency adjustments, perhaps leveraging draft capital or moving veterans in desperation. The idea of Maxey suiting up in Boston while Philadelphia scrambles to rebuild is a nightmare that Sixers fans are already struggling to process. And for Boston supporters, the hope is intoxicating. Imagine a backcourt where Maxey's quick first step opens lanes for Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, where his shooting stretches defenses and forces opponents into impossible choices, where his energy reinvigorates a roster already built on toughness and talent. It is not hyperbole to say that such a move could alter the balance of the Eastern Conference for years. The most fascinating layer of this story is the secrecy. Whispers of clandestine meetings, performance clauses, and even cultural considerations have been floating around. Everything from lifestyle adjustments in Boston to personal mentorship opportunities has been placed on the table to make the decision irresistible. If even half of these details are true, then what we are witnessing is one of the most calculated recruitment efforts of the modern NBA era. The tension now lies in the silence before the storm. Every leak, every supposed insider report, every shift in tone from the media sends ripples through both cities. In Philadelphia, it feels like dread. In Boston, it feels like destiny. Fans are not simply waiting for a signing, they are waiting for confirmation of a narrative that could redefine rivalry, loyalty, and the trajectory of the Eastern Conference itself. If Tyrese Maxey chooses Boston, it will not just be a transaction, it will be a shockwave that reshapes the league. In the middle of an offseason where every rumor feels like a spark that could set the league on fire, one idea has exploded across discussions and left Boston Celtics fans with their hearts racing. It is a trade scenario that at first glance looks like a wild internet fantasy, but the more you peel back the layers, the more it feels like a strategic gamble that could reshape the balance of power in the Eastern Conference. We are talking about a potential deal that would bring Lauri Markkanen to Boston, a move that has stunned analysts, fueled debate, and injected a dose of pure adrenaline into an already thrilling summer. The framework of this mock blockbuster is straightforward but explosive. According to the proposal, Boston would acquire Markkanen while sending away a package that includes Anfernee Simons, Sam Hauser, Gorgui Dieng, Xavier Tillman, and 2 future first-round picks. At face value, this looks like a steep price. Yet when you consider the bigger picture, the hidden layers of potential, and the unique trajectory the Celtics are on, this deal becomes far more fascinating than the numbers on paper. Markkanen is not just another player coming off a strong season, averaging over 23 points per game. He is a 6'11" forward who can bend defenses with his outside shooting, punish mismatches inside the paint, and flow seamlessly into a system that thrives on versatility. Boston has been searching for a piece that does not disrupt the rhythm of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown, but elevates it. Markkanen fits that description with surgical precision. He does not require the ball in his hands for long stretches, yet when given the chance, he can dominate offensively in ways that few modern bigs can. The Celtics system under Joe Mazzulla is built on spacing, movement, and adaptability, and Markkanen checks every single box. Now consider the timing. Kristaps Porzingis is an elite talent but has faced recurring injuries and will require careful management throughout the season. That reality creates a need for stability in the frontcourt, someone who can carry stretches without breaking the flow of the team. Bringing in Markkanen would not be just insurance, it would be a declaration of ambition, a sign that Boston is ready to stretch their depth and talent to levels that rival any team in the league. Imagine a lineup where Tatum, Brown, and Markkanen share the floor, creating matchup nightmares for opposing defenses. It would be a combination of length, skill, and scoring power rarely seen in league history. On the Utah side, this scenario has its own intrigue. Danny Ainge, a man Celtics fans know all too well, is famous for tearing down and rebuilding franchises with an eye for the long game. If Utah is truly listening to offers, it is because they understand the ceiling of this current roster and are willing to collect the kind of youth, depth, and draft capital that can fuel a multi-year transformation. Anfernee Simons alone represents a tantalizing piece. He is only in his mid-20s, yet already one of the most explosive guards in the league. Add to that the reliable shooting of Sam Hauser, the toughness of Tillman, the size of Dieng, plus 2 future first-round picks, and you have the outline of a foundation that could evolve into something dangerous in 3 or 4 years. But here is where it becomes truly captivating for Boston fans. This is not just about the numbers, the names, or the draft picks. It is about seizing the exact moment when the window to win a championship is wide open. The Celtics have already climbed to the top, lifting banner number 18, and now comes the harder challenge, staying there and extending that dominance. Teams across the league are retooling and stacking talent, but very few have the chance to add an all-star level forward who fits so perfectly with their current core. Markkanen is not just a piece. He could be the missing ingredient that makes Boston's offense unstoppable and its defense suffocating. This proposal is still just an idea circulating through conversations, yet it carries a weight that cannot be ignored. It forces Celtics fans to ask themselves, would you sacrifice depth and future draft assets for a star who could immediately cement Boston as the undisputed favorite for another title? And on the Jazz side, is this the moment to pivot fully into the future, trading a current face of a franchise for the possibility of building the next one? The truth is, deals like this rarely happen without some form of smoke turning into fire. Front offices do not leak names of this magnitude unless there is real exploration happening behind the scenes. Boston's ambition is clear, Utah's openness is visible, and Markkanen stands at the center of what could become the move of the year. So the question lingers. Is this just a rumor destined to fade away, or are we witnessing the early signs of a move that could redefine the Boston Celtics for years to come? Boston Celtics may be entering one of the most delicate yet fascinating stretches of their offseason, with whispers that go far beyond routine roster shuffling. While much of the attention has hovered over Dallas and its attempts to reshape the backcourt around Dante Exum following the expected absence of Kyrie Irving in the early months of the season, the real intrigue may lie in how these moves ripple outward and potentially touch Boston. Reports from respected insiders Jake Fisher and Mark Stein confirm that Dallas is actively seeking to shed one of its 15 guaranteed contracts in order to clear space, with names such as Jaden Hardy and Olivier Maxence Prosper surfacing as possible trade chips. At first glance, it appears to be an internal Mavericks matter, yet history has shown that when Dallas starts reshaping its roster, the Celtics are rarely far from the conversation. The element that injects suspense is not whether Boston is targeting a specific Dallas player today, but rather the precedent of connections between the two franchises. Over recent months, Boston has repeatedly been floated in scenarios involving frontcourt reinforcements like Daniel Gafford or P.J. Washington, players whose skill sets align almost too perfectly with Boston's long-term needs. If Dallas pursues a 2-for-1 transaction to balance their roster, the Celtics could find themselves positioned to extract real value, especially with assets such as Sam Hauser or even the newly spotlighted Anfernee Simons hovering around the rumor mill. What makes Hardy in particular intriguing is not only his unpredictable scoring bursts, but also his contract structure, a 2-year, $12 million deal that could provide both financial stability and a young offensive punch. The fact that Hardy's salary exceeds that of veteran D'Angelo Russell underlines how unconventional these roster equations have become, and that creates openings for opportunistic teams. The curiosity intensifies when considering Boston's larger strategic arc. It has been no secret that the front office is unlikely to stand pat until opening night. Whether the next move materializes in the coming week or later in the season, the certainty is that another adjustment is coming. That inevitability ties directly into the position of other franchises openly willing to absorb salary, none more notable than the Brooklyn Nets, who recently announced their readiness to act as financial facilitators this year. With high-earning players such as Michael Porter Jr. and solid rotational pieces like Nick Claxton, Brooklyn has essentially declared itself open for transactional business. This creates a rare landscape where Boston can maneuver through secondary teams to acquire value without strengthening direct Eastern Conference rivals. Analysts point to both Brooklyn and Utah as the most probable hubs for Boston's involvement, with Detroit and Atlanta sitting at the edges of speculation. The second thread pulling Boston into spotlight surrounds Anfernee Simons. While some may view him as a transitional piece, an anonymous league executive went as far as predicting that Simons could become Boston's leading scorer, even alongside Jaylen Brown. The reasoning stems from his contract year urgency and his proven ability to generate offense, averaging near 20 points per game in the highly competitive Western Conference. The question then becomes what happens when that scoring engine is transplanted into the East, where defensive matchups and travel demands often differ dramatically. Could Boston truly unlock a version of Simons that has never been seen before, one that not only scores but does so in winning contexts? If he can deliver over 20 points per game on a legitimate contender, it would dramatically shift both his market value and Boston's offensive ceiling. There is also a critical financial dimension to consider. Portland's decision to move on from Simons was not an indictment of his talent, but a reflection of their youth-heavy rebuild with Scoot Henderson and Shaedon Sharpe. For Boston, the equation is entirely different. They can showcase Simons on a grand stage, increase his marketability, and either commit long-term or leverage his elevated value in a blockbuster transaction. This dual pathway is precisely why fans and analysts alike should not underestimate his role in the months ahead. Even if Jaylen Brown remains the clear primary scorer, the emergence of Simons as a consistent 20-point contributor could transform the Celtics' depth and unlock new offensive schemes. The international stage adds yet another layer. Neemias Queta's standout performances in Eurobasket, including a dominant 23-point and 18-rebound effort, set the stage for a showdown with reigning MVP Nikola Jokic. While it remains a developmental storyline, the possibility of Queta maturing into a reliable starting center carries enormous weight. If Boston can solve a long-term 5 position internally at a minimal financial cost, the front office gains freedom to redirect resources toward backcourt stability or additional wing depth in the next cycle. This potential homegrown solution, combined with the flexibility created by players like Simons, paints a picture of a franchise that is not simply reacting, but preparing multiple avenues of growth. Taken together, these storylines illustrate why the Celtics are once again at the epicenter of league-wide intrigue. Dallas may only be seeking roster clarity, Brooklyn may only be absorbing contracts, and Simons may only be chasing his next deal, but when these threads intersect, the result is a set of opportunities that could dramatically alter Boston's trajectory. The curiosity is not whether the Celtics will act, but when, and the suspense lies in which of these seemingly peripheral moves will suddenly place Boston back at the forefront of the NBA's power structure.